Hello and welcome to episode 8 of Midnight Chats, the interview podcast brought to you by Loud and Quiet magazine. Interview probably being too strong a word for these rather loose conversations that we've been having with some of the artists that we like the most. This week's guest is Joseph Mount, who records under the name Metronomy, sometimes as a band, sometimes in a full band setup, and sometimes, as he is currently, completely alone. Joe currently lives in France, and we had this conversation the opening day of the Euros, which are of course taking part in France. He chose that day to fled the country. We have a little bit of chat about that. I don't think it was intentional that he left just as the football started. But yeah, so Joe, we met up at his record label's offices, which are just down the road from us. He is signed to a label called Because, who are originally a French label and still a French label, but they also have offices here in the UK and a UK arm setup. And we met and had this conversation in a very hot boardroom, which had lots of it was a typical record label boardroom in the sense that there were lots of gold discs on the wall. Gotta say, not many Metronomy ones. Joe won't mind me saying that. He in fact pointed that out to me. There was one silver Metronomy one, but there was a hell of a lot of Major Lazer discs on the wall, because Major Lazer, it turns out, are bloody massive now, because they've had the biggest streaming tune. You'll probably know this if you're into streaming. That one of their songs, I should know this stuff, shouldn't I? But one of their songs is the most streamed track of all time. So there was a lot of gold discs from Major Lazer, not so many of Metronomy, but a lot of Metronomy posters on the wall. They've got one wall that is a collage of bands' posters and artworks. So, you know, Joe was being represented in there. And yeah, we met up essentially because Joe was in town to play a DJ set at Field Day. He's decided not to tour the new Metronomy record, which is called Summer '08, in a conventional band setup as he usually would. He's just playing some DJ sets, essentially so he can spend some time with his young family. So we have a little bit of a chat about that as well. There's a few sound issues on this podcast, which I should probably warn you about. I completely blame Joe for them. One is that he had a cough. I mean, it's probably cruel to blame him for that, but there's some coughs in there. That's fine. I think we can all live with that. But I think, I suspect there's also a strange knocking noise, which I think might have been, we had our microphone in between us on a table, and I think we've knocked the table a few times, and perhaps even I did once or twice. But we were so engrossed in our conversation that I wasn't really aware of these kind of things until I listened back to it. We've cleaned it up as much as possible, so hopefully it won't detract from just how entertaining this next 40-odd minutes is going to be for you. And yeah, let's, other than that, I think, you probably don't need to know any more. This is episode 8 of Midnight Chats with Joseph Mount, and let's get into it. So, you know what today is? Today.
No.
Today is first day of the Euro football.
Oh, you're right,
tournament.
It is. And I left Paris this morning singing the national anthem.
Did you?
No, but I left and yeah, it was like mad busy in Paris. Yeah.
Was it? Are you gonna? I mean, do you follow it at all? Do you follow sports?
I love these kind of competitions. Yeah.
Do you like these kind of competitions, but you don't necessarily follow football generally? That's where I currently am with football. I
like football a lot.
Yeah.
But the kind of investment needed to follow a football team, especially my football team, which is Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
To kind of be able to go and watch the games like on TV is quite difficult, especially in France. So like. And also because they're just not very good anymore. Well, if they were in the Premiership, I reckon I'd get well into football again. But yeah, I like it's easy, like World Cups, Euros, like easy to get into because it's a nice short amount of time, and your other half is more forgiving of you like leaving in that period.
And it's more of a kind of fun party atmosphere to it. Everyone's involved. I used to love football as a kid, and then I think I just kind of got a bit bored of it. I think I got really into music, and then that becomes your obsession.
Yeah, I think I was talking to someone about that. Like, I think it's funny how there's not... Well, it's pretty actually changed a bit, but like there was a point when I was young, we had to make a decision, like, are you creative or are you into football?
Yeah.
And because, you know, schoolboys, you know, like that kind of world, they don't necessarily... It has probably changed like a great deal, I reckon, but in those days, you kind of, you just decided, didn't you?
Let's pick a lane.
You had to pick a lane, exactly.
And now it's weird, isn't it? Because if you, I think if you are a quote-unquote creative or a musician, or if you're into music, you're kind of, it's considered weird if you also say you like football.
The funny thing is in France is that they're like way more relaxed. Like, basically in England, sport is like not something people do for fun. The average person doesn't like play tennis. Whereas in somewhere like France, like, because they're pretty good at like making everything like a social event, like football, tennis, like rugby, I don't know, I'm not really into rugby, but you know, sport in general, like people are just way more relaxed about, and like, you know, it's not seen as a mutually exclusive thing. If you like music, like you can totally be into football. And like Roland Garros, the tennis thing, like they have all the, like, it's crazy. I went one year, I'm sure it's the same as at Wimbledon, but probably in Paris it's a bit more like kind of crazy. But like, you have the kind of tennis tournament going on, and then around it you have all of these like fashion brands throwing parties, like all of these luxury item places, like, and like you kind of go and watch some tennis, then you go and like have a Jaeger bomb. like,
I've heard that about the French Open, that it's much more about the going and eating nice food.
Yeah, exactly.
As much as it is the tennis.
Yeah, and it's like, but it's like classy. Like watching tennis is classy. You know what I mean?
Doesn't everyone talk at Roland Garros? Isn't there like a lot of chatter in the stands?
They still tell you to be quiet. But it's just more of a fun, like, I can't imagine it being quite the same at Wimbledon. And then I think with the football as well, like you go to the football as a social thing, like, but then having said that, they have like crazy hooliganism problems still in France. But I think the idea of sport, like if you look at kind of if you look, like, I think it's probably to do with fashion actually as well. But like football in France is kind of, sport in France, there are kind of sportswear brands which are a bit cool, and so like kind of the world of like fashion and sport is a bit closer, I think. Well, like the world of actual sporting people and fashion, like everyone wears, like I'm wearing an Adidas top, but I don't know how to. I do love an Adidas top. I actually found another. I'll show it to you. I found a funny picture, which isn't so good on the podcast. But I found a picture because in your magazine I was aged 16 in Berlin, wearing an Adidas top, and I was saying that I've always worn the same thing my whole life. And then, not long after I got that picture, my mum sent me this picture, which is me aged, I don't know, it's probably before the Berlin Wall even came down.
Was even built.
Wearing an Adidas.
Wearing an Adidas. Are they even the matching bottoms as well?
No, it's just jogging trousers.
How, just to anyone listening to this who cannot see this, that's you and that's your sister, right?
That's my sister.
And she's holding a ukulele or a small
guitar.
So.
I think it's a ukulele,
guitar. And you've got like an Adidas tracksuit top done up to the top. You look like you could be in a Gio Goy commercial.
What's Gio Goy?
That's like a kind of tracksuit, like That pose there, you look like some proper attitude there.
It's pretty attitude. I actually,
How old are you there?
I'm not sure. I must be like, I don't know.
8.
8?
Something like that, yeah.
When did the Berlin Wall come down?
89?
89, was it? Okay, so I know it had
might
come
have
down.
really
I don't think it is
embarrassed
89. I think it might be in the 90s.
99.
Anyway.
So...
Oh yeah, what I was going to say was, so these Adidas tops, right? There's that one there that I'm wearing in this picture, aged 8. There's obviously my cousin Oscar is in Metronomy. My other cousin Brendan is a producer, a music producer. He lives in Manchester, and he's produced like the Dutch Uncles albums, and he did is it Go Go Penguin that ended up Mercury nominated. Anyway, he's like a really great music producer, but he's a less talked about cousin of mine. Anyway, he's from Manchester, and in Manchester they're all thugs, and they all wear tracksuits, and so that what I'm wearing in that picture is a hand-me-down from Brendan, and when I was young, all of the cool stuff I wore were hand-me-downs from Manchester, basically.
Okay, so that's where the Adidas zip-up top
I think so. Yeah.
came from. Mm-hmm. And you've just stuck with it. You're riding it out.
If it is not broken,
keep wearing
it. Yeah.
So you left Paris today, where you live.
Yeah.
You still live.
Mm-hmm.
And you lived there for like maybe 5 years?
I think 5-6 years, maybe longer. I mean, I have to be, I'm officially a resident of England.
Oh, I mean, you've not lived there. I mean, I said live there, that was a slip at the time.
I've lived there for like, 5-6 years.
Okay, right. Are you still enjoying it there? So you've left just when the sport...
Your questioning is like... You'd leave me very little time to answer.
What I was going to say was... do you like it? Do you like it still?
Yep. No, I do. I could have answered it that quickly, actually. I do like it.
But you've left... So are you going to get to see any of the Euros?
I was actually invited to the opening ceremony by...
But that's tonight, John.
Well, no, I was actually... And that makes it sound... I was invited by... Ed Warren, who does our lights, was supposed to go with his friend who lives in Paris, and Ed apparently couldn't go, so he offered me a place. But I can't be there because I'm doing this podcast.
But you are also DJing tomorrow at Field Day. I don't think I can be completely...
The same time as the England-Russia game, I believe. So I'm going to have 5 live on one fader and some tunes on the other.
We should talk a bit about the DJ.
Yeah.
Is these the first time you've DJ'd Metronomy stuff? You've been like DJing as Metronomy?
It's like I've DJ'd before, and I think every time I've done it before, like, I really like playing like songs that I like quite loud, you know, and I get an immense amount of pleasure in that. And every time I've DJ'd, I think people have wanted me to play like a Metronomy song, and I've never done it. No. Just because it just seems a bit like kind of crazy egotistical. Anyway, so then we were talking about this album. Obviously we're not touring it for the time being, so I kind of was like, I'll do anything that can help promote it, I'll do it. And so they were like, maybe you could do some DJing. So I'm like, okay. And then the first DJ thing I had was at We Love Green, which is the French festival, Paris festival, and they advertised it, and it kind of said Metronomy quite big, and then it said DJ set quite small, and I was like, oh god, like everyone's going to think it's the band, and it just piled on like this horrible amount of pressure, because I was, basically people were going to turn up, and without me having done anything, they would immediately be disappointed, because there wasn't a band, and then depending on how the DJ set went, they'd either get more disappointed or like maybe I would be able to like make up for the initial disappointment. So I just really like stressed myself out, and I was thinking like, what can I do? Like, why? Like, what can I do? and in the end, I kind of made a kind of set out of remixes that I've like my favorite remixes that I've done, kind
of other
people's songs. There's like there's 2 remixes of Metronomy stuff, and I'm playing some new Metronomy stuff from the album, and then some kind of exclusives. But I figured it was the only way I could do it, like confident of the fact that I was doing something which only I could do.
Yeah.
And it was actually pretty good fun. Like, it was pretty good fun doing it.
And are you mixing?
I am. I kind of...
Because you don't really need to these days, do you really? I mean, not you per se. I mean, one doesn't need to mix when they're a DJ necessarily. A lot of the time it's about just picking some tunes.
But I figured that people are gonna be disappointed from the word go. No, I don't. I just thought it would be more pro if I was mixing.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I don't know why. I mean, I could have just made it very easy for myself by not caring.
Yeah. Could you do that before? Would you mix records before when you just DJ'd out?
Yeah, occasionally. Like, I mean, I used to be like way better at it when I was younger, like when I was a teenager. But I can still do it, and it's like so easy nowadays. Like, I resent like DJ bashing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like the idea of people kind of being like, oh, anyone could do it. But literally, like, anyone could do it. And I'm just like, I was using some CDJs, which are the kind of, you know, the new kind of standard for that type of thing. And it's just like, you get this program on your computer called Record Box, and you put all your songs into it, and you kind of spend quite a lot of time preparing, like, cue points on tracks. But it literally, like, it just syncs the songs together. Like, it matches the tempo, like, it really, like, anyone can do it.
Still, people should still come and see you.
No. Which made me even more thinking, like, well, like when I realized this, I was like, oh my god, well, like, literally, what's the point of doing it? Like, because anyone can do it, and I don't even know what new music's good. So, like, what am I offering anyone? So it made me even more kind of sure that I should do, like, play some interesting Metronomy stuff.
Yeah. So you've got some remixes of Metronomy tracks. Is it the Metronomy tracks you're playing? Are they all off of? We should say the new record.
Summer 08.
Called Summer
out
08.
Summer 16.
Go buy it.
Yeah.
Are the Metronomy tracks you're playing exclusively from that, or
no? There's like I'm kind of I think I'm playing like 3 songs from the new album, and then I play like Holiday and Radio. Or I did it at the last set anyway.
How come those two? Are those two just ones that you like the most, or?
I guess they're kind of. Well, yeah, I think they're kind of the most like they kind of work.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the rest is like some early, like an early version of Holiday, which is like completely different from what it became, and it has no lyrics or anything. Like it sounds a bit like Doctor Who or something. It's fun. And then some other stuff.
Okay.
But I'm actually like quite happy with how it is, like, because it doesn't like. The problem is then if I say like it's just all Metronomy stuff, that sounds a bit boring. But to listen to it, it doesn't feel like you're listening to just Metronomy.
Yeah. Is it weird having people like dance?
Taking their tops off? Yeah.
Do people take their tops off?
Going on each other's shoulders.
Have people done that?
No.
That would be. But you've only played one so far.
It was like I tell you what I realised, because what I realised when when there was a song, I can't remember which song, but like when it really started to like pick up and people like started doing what they do at like DJ gigs, like kind of going like woo! Like cheering and point to the song
during a mix.
Yeah, pretty much. And I was like, oh my god, like this is like I can see why you get like I don't know, like whatever Avicii or like Calvin Harris, like just kind of like put their arms up in the air, and like I could see why like the drop had become this thing in modern music. Like I could totally understand it.
You got it instantly as soon as it.
Well, it's just obvious. It's like And it's funny because then I went away from that DJ set realizing that some of these remixes which I did in 2008, like there's no bottom end in them at all. So I've like gone back into some of them and like put in some bottom end because like it's got a drop.
Yeah.
But no, you can totally see it. Like you can see how, like if you're in charge of this, like if you're in charge of the bass of a huge system,
yeah,
and you can just like turn off the bass and then it's like boom. When you kind of master the podcast, you should boom. Turn up the bass.
Turn up the bass
to illustrate what I mean.
In that bit, yeah. Okay.
Boom. But like you know, people like it's a very physical thing, so I can get it.
Because I find like, I mean, when I DJ, and I use that term very loosely when I say DJ, I mean, I literally mean pressing play on records.
Yeah.
Pressing play on another record.
That's DJing, I think.
That counts.
I think
that
unless
counts.
you're doing it at home on your own.
Yeah, then that's strange.
Yeah.
That's weird. But I find the whole act of DJing, I find it really embarrassing. I get embarrassed, and I'm too embarrassed. I'm embarrassed when it's going badly and everyone's kind of shrugging or they've left the dance floor.
Yeah.
But I'm probably more embarrassed when at that drop moment when people kind of all look at you, like you play a track and everyone looks at you and goes, yeah, and they cheer or they point at you, and I feel I don't know what to do with my hand. Should I like? Just start sidestepping and clapping. I don't know what to do with that. I'm really bad at being, because I hate it when you suddenly become the center of attention in that way. I suppose it's
but then
more
that's
natural
what
for you.
So like this kind of this We Love Green thing was like it was like a baptism of fire in a way, but like because I'd anticipated all of that kind of embarrassment, like I really practiced and I was like very well prepared, so I knew what I was doing 100%. But like totally the other thing I realized is that is like, if you're DJing, like that's the whole part of the fun. Like people are like, if you're a band and you're playing and like a crowd just suddenly like decide they're going to walk away, like that's quite a kind of horrible demonstration of like something going wrong. But like if you're playing someone else's records and people walk away, then it's like a kind of game. Like I think what I will do from now on is approach DJing as much more like it's a game. Like it's a game of trying to keep people interested.
Yeah.
And if they walk away from the dance floor, then it's like you should just like change the record really quickly.
Yeah.
And like not
just
be
put
embarrassed.
On Who Let the Dogs Out.
Is that what?
That's why
that when people look at you. Hold on, something's happening here.
Well, I normally open with that.
And finish with it.
I finish with it, and if anywhere in between I'm losing them, I'll just put that on.
Yeah.
And I find that normally does the trick. And when that song's on, I don't mind throwing my hands in there at all. So you've got, how many more of these have you got?
Well,
you're doing it, so you're not. You decided not to tour the record.
Not this year. We're not touring this year. No.
Okay.
Yeah, and like we're not doing it under the like pretense that we're never touring again. You know what I mean? Like we're going to tour again.
Yeah.
I reckon it'll be next year. I'm not, but it just depends whether it'll be early next year or late next year or whatever. Really, but yeah. So we're not touring, and I said I'll help out promoting, do some DJing. I've got like a field day. And then there's a few more things like later on in the year. And then I'm kind of hopeful that like maybe there'll be a few more. I don't know, like, because it's kind of a good way of earning a bit of cash.
Just turn up with your laptop.
Turn up. I literally like, I turn up, right? We Love Green. Guess how much I got paid? £500,000. No, but obviously it was a lot more. You get like, but no, I think it's quite good fun, and it's like really easy to tour, and if it, like, I mean not to tour, but like to travel around doing it. So if people are into it, I'll happily do more.
Yeah, and people do love it. People do love it. Like if the songs are good,
yeah.
Then
but that's the thing, and I figure like I'm not trying to kind of be, I'm not trying to do something more than exactly what I just said. Really, just like play some Metronomy tunes. But like, I'm already very excited about the idea of touring again as well, like proper with the band. So
yeah, did you just feel like you needed a little bit of time off from that?
It's more like we finished. So Love Letters, the touring of that finished last September, which is what, 8 months ago. How long is that?
Something like that.
So
September, did you say?
Sorry.
End of September, did you say?
Yeah, September. Anyway, September.
8 or 9 months.
So the popular way of doing things would have meant if we finished in September and then this album was coming out in July, we would have probably done some gigs, like probably done a lot of festivals this year, I guess, promoting it, and then toured in probably autumn, and then like gone to America early next year, and then probably done loads of festivals next year, which would have given us like however many months off if we had to do it again. Not even taking into consideration the fact that none of us know how to play the song, so we really needed to practice. And like it just wouldn't have been enough time at home really, like with families and stuff. And like I've got kids and Benga's got a baby, and like you don't want to kind of miss, like Benga already missed the birth of his child because we had a gig.
Oh wow.
He tried to get back, but
he was like on the stage at the time.
No. The morning of the gig, he left. The morning of the gig, his wife went into labour, and he left, and we're in a slightly annoying bit of Spain. You may know about it. You may have heard of it. We're in a really difficult place, not very close to an airport. And he flew back, and as he landed, he'd missed it by like 20 minutes or something.
Oh.
Yeah. So like he's already missed the birth of his child, and I've already missed like a huge amount of like time in my children's like early years just from touring and stuff. So it seems like a nice time to stay at home for a bit just to do that. But I don't really want that to stop me from putting out records. Like I don't like.
I was going to say, why didn't you did you not think to just sit on the record for a bit?
Like that'd be so depressing. You know what I mean? Like it was like the record was finished like early this year or whatever.
So did you start making the record as soon as you finished, like in September of last year? As soon as you
No. Well, I started I think in April last year.
Okay.
So like we were in the middle of the touring. I just did a couple of weeks, and then like a few weeks here and there, like over that period. But I know it's like I think it's like really hard to articulate without sounding spoiled or something. But the way that the music industry works now, and the way that people consume music, just means that like the best you're going to get out of your favorite acts is one album every 3 years. Like if you expect to kind of not buy music and just to go and see people live, then the best you're going to get is one album every 3 years out of your favorite band. If you're lucky, your favorite band from all that touring are not going to just completely implode. So like, if you're lucky, in 10 years you're going to get 3 albums from your favorite band.
And then they will die of old age.
And then they'll and so if you imagine that like if people were a bit more generous with the amount of money they spent on music, physically or otherwise, then you could up that ratio to like 1 album every 2 years, which means that in 10 years you're going to get 5 albums.
Yeah, I'm still with you.
Out of your favorite band, and for me that's just so the desire to release a record instead of sitting on it is obvious. It's just like, well, I don't want to sit on a record and then tour it for 3 years, 2 years of touring or whatever, because I'm gonna hate that record by then.
Yeah.
So I'd rather do this record like this and then do another one before we tour again. And then in 10 years. Well, it's already been about 10 years, hasn't it? And I've done 5 records, which is I'm happy with that.
So in terms of making the record though, do you, I completely get that you wouldn't want to make a record and sit on it. In terms of making the record whilst you're still touring, do you just feel kind of compelled to always be making music?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's that, but also it's like, I don't do it. Like I'm lucky that it's a kind of job, but I don't do it because it's a job. Like I do it because I really love doing it, and I love recording. And so if anyone gave an ultimatum, like saying like, okay, well, you've got to tour, I don't know, like, I guess like the thing is, making records and like keeping making music is so kind of important to me as a person that like I would always choose to do that over kind of compromising that, you know. And I think also like it helps you not be afraid that like sitting on a record kind of also implies that you're worried you've not got more ideas.
Yeah.
And I hate the idea that like that you would ever I don't ever want to make myself feel like that. Like I'd rather force myself to have more ideas.
So it's called Summer '08.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a follow-up to Nights Out.
Yeah, it kind of is, you know, like after Nights Out, I kind of did 2 records which were kind of led by like a desire to like learn about studios and recording in studios, and so they kind of lost what made Nights Out sound like it does, which is just like the fact that I kind of just did it in a bedroom and wasn't really, I don't know, wasn't really thinking. But anyway, I'm not saying they lost it in a bad way. Like I kind of the following 2 albums, like I love, and I kind of learned so much about recording in studios and all that kind of stuff, and about songwriting, and so this one I just wanted to like blast it out, like just get a record done and do it in the same kind of, just like without any kind of overarching idea.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, like, you know, with nothing more conceptual than just like wanting to do an album, really.
Did it feel similar to Nights Out in terms of the making of it?
What kind? Yeah, I mean,
Did it feel reminiscent of that time and that process?
It did. Yeah. Because I knew we weren't touring, so I wasn't thinking about how we're going to play it live. Like I was just like having fun, and it's quite easy. Like Love Letters and English Riviera could have sounded the same as Nights Out if I'd recorded it in that kind of same world, but I didn't. So it's not hard. It's not like a conscious thing to have to try and make something live in that same place. Like it's just do what you do, kind of without thinking.
Yeah. And what do you remember of like 08, summer 08?
Nothing, mate. If I remembered it, I wouldn't have been there. That's what we say. That's what we say in the business about the summer of new rave. We call it.
Was 08? Was it?
No, I think it was 06 actually.
Yeah, it was.
Anyway, I remember just like traveling and kind of like doing. I think we did Benicassim that year, and that was like our first kind of like sun-kissed festival. And like having a kind of like, we were hyped, I guess, and like having a crowd like way bigger than I thought we would, and it was kind of like that, really, just like a really fun kind of year. Yeah. I mean, and the summer bit, like I wanted to call the album 2008, but I think the thinking was it might be a bit confusing.
Yeah,
because people might think it was old.
Yeah, someone released an album, Melio Jones.
Oh yeah,
you know that chap, Welsh chap.
Yeah.
He released a record this year called, I think it might be called, I'm going to get this wrong now, but it's called something like 2013.
Okay.
2003 or something like that.
But it's confusing, isn't it? Yeah. So summer 08 made it kind of, for me, it was like, oh well, that kind of gets what I wanted. Gets what I want in the title. And it kind of makes it a bit more funny, like a bit more kind of like specific. But
I remember you saying when we did the last interview in the mag, which is around Love Letters, that you felt like Nights Out was your quote unquote cool record.
Cool record.
Yeah. In terms of where it kind of stood in the.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, like I think the people that were in, like, it's funny because now when I do interviews, like, in different countries, well, and in England as well, but like when I do interviews, the point I'm trying to make is there are journalists now who I meet who are kind of young journalists, and they when that record came out, they were like, I guess, 15, 16 years old or something.
Yeah, so I might have missed it.
Sorry?
So they might have missed it.
Well, no. So they knew it. So they knew it when they were like 16,
yeah.
I guess 15, 16, 17 years old. Like they heard it then. And like now they're kind of journalists, like young journalists. And for them it's like this quite a kind of symbolic record from a time. And yeah, I think for that reason it's like a kind of cool, but like it wasn't like a huge record. Like it's not like the world knows about it. So I think the people that were into it kind of feel a bit like they kind of have this little thing. So yeah, I think it is the cool record. I think it still is.
Yeah. But so this second one's like the second cool one.
It is pretty cool, this one.
Essentially. It's got very cool artwork.
Yeah.
Very cool. But all of your records have a look, don't they? They all have.
They're all cool. God, they're all cool.
They're all really.
I mean, like I'm looking at there's some posters of them.
Yeah, this room might be low on gold discs, but it's heavy on Metronomy posters.
It's true, it is. Yeah. No, they all have a look, and I think it helps let people know what they're getting into, I reckon.
How much kind of I know you did not draw these covers yourself.
No,
I presume.
I didn't.
But how does that work? Do you get like do you have a lot of say in that? Obviously if you hated it,
totally. I mean, it's all like all of the artwork is my
your
brief, yeah. Although the funny thing about the new album was that months and months ago, I commissioned this collage artist to make a kind of 3 gatefold album sleeve for Summer '08. Yeah. Okay. So it's like, I'll show you a copy in a minute.
Yeah.
You can probably take it home if you like it.
Yeah.
So 3, if you imagine like 3 panelled kind of gatefold. This guy made this collage and it's like supposed to be the artwork for Summer '08. And then he kind of delivered it, we got it photographed, and then I took it to the label. And they were like, oh, okay, so are all these photos cleared? And I was like, obviously, like, I'm such an idiot that I just didn't think. I just kind of assumed that this artist, because he does it all the time.
Right.
And he said it'd be fine. But then I was like, oh, God, hang on. Like, he doesn't sell reproductions. Like, if you take a collage and you start selling it, like people can say, that's me in that picture, you're selling my image.
Yeah, happened to Vampire Weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And then I looked up online about like Sgt. Pepper, and they actually got permission from like all of the people.
Okay.
All the estates of the people.
Yeah, because there's that great, on the inside of, on the sleeve of Sgt. Pepper, if you buy it now, I don't know if it's in the original.
Yeah.
There's this pulled out photo of people cutouts that are left out.
Okay. Yeah.
And maybe that's because they didn't get
they didn't get permission. No, exactly. Yeah. And so anyway, at that point I just realised, oh God, like I've made a massive mistake here. Like anyway, so the album artwork for Summer '08 was done in like a very short space of time because my previous idea was idiotic. So anyway, every album apart from this one, although of course like I worked with Charlotte Delarue getting the kind of artwork together, but all the other albums are like either me working with Aaron, who works here at Because, like to get a kind of package together, or like Love Letters was done all by an artist called Leslie, what's her second name? Leslie David. So she kind of did everything, like handled all the. But I said to her I wanted it to look like kind of internal, like a something internal. No, I was going to say
that's a very.
I was like saying to her I wanted it to look like pink, like really pink, and just kind of like almost like too much pink.
Okay.
And the word love, like I'm not like it sounds like I'm alluding to the private parts of a woman, but I'm not.
No.
I'm just talking about like pink. something internal, like it could be a colon, like
inside,
like innards, basically.
Nothing says love like innards.
Innards, yeah.
I don't think.
And so she was saying like, oh, I don't know, I just think maybe there's too much. And I was like, no, there's not enough.
There can't be too much pink.
Yeah, exactly.
What about nights out? Because that's you kind of leaning against what car is that on there?
Honda Insight.
Is there any reason why it's a Honda Insight? Was that your car?
So we were touring at the time, and I knew I wanted a car on the front cover of Nights Out. And what I wanted was like a car which would become a kind of iconic car of the year, like the early noughties. And I was like, we were driving up and down like the motorway doing our gigs, Miguel and Oscar, in the Nissan Micra as it was then. And I was looking at cars, and for a while I was thinking like this Peugeot, is it 306, like the one with the kind of two like grills on the front.
That's a 206.
206.
I say that because I have one.
Okay, so 206. So like it's quite a kind of, you will see Peugeot 206s like everywhere in about 20 years, like, and they'll look run down, but they'll still look quite cool. And anyway, the Honda Insight was basically this car, like one of the first hybrid cars,
right,
with a covered back wheel arch.
Oh, it is, yeah.
To make it look like it's from the future.
Yeah.
And it's like, what I love about it is it's kind of someone's vision of the future, which is like it's the kind of, I don't know when it was produced, but I guess 2006, something like that. Like it's the vision of the future, but it just looks like the past.
It already looks like the past.
yeah. But there's something I love about that, like about how hard people try to make things look futuristic, but they end up looking very dated. You know?
Do you need to get clearance when you put a Honda Insight onto your cover?
No. But I had a great story. I met. So we needed this. This is like a pitch, like a photograph, which is then drawn.
Yeah.
Like, but there was an actual photograph of me on the car.
On the car.
And so we were touring. We were about to do a support tour for Kate Nash.
I remember this time. I remember around this time.
And I went on Honda enthusiasts forum. I was like, dear forum, I'm looking for someone with a Honda Insight so I can take a picture of it for an album cover, blah blah blah. And this guy replied to me and was like, oh, okay, yeah, I could do that. And like, you know, he obviously knew we were in a band because I'd mentioned it in the thing.
Yeah.
And
this is a forum that's for people who love Hondas.
Like Honda, I think, and even maybe Honda Insight specifically.
Okay.
And basically, he worked at some science park outside, like near Manchester, I think, or near Liverpool. So we met up with him in this car park, did some pictures with the car, and in return, he was like, "Oh, I don't know if I gave him some money. I might have given him some money." But he's like, "Oh, could you would you be able to give my daughter some tickets to the Kate Nash gig?" I was like, "Okay, yeah." And then I was like, "Oh, if you want, your daughter can meet Kate Nash. I can make that happen."
Whoa!
So
power.
This was at the time Kate Nash had a bodyguard, like, which is quite
Kate
funny.
Nash was really big deal back then.
Yeah.
This is around the time she's released Foundations.
Yeah.
So
she had security personnel. And anyway, outside the Liverpool Academy, I don't think I'd even warned Kate about it, and I kind of knocked on the door. I was like, "Would you mind coming to meet a friend of mine?" It was this young girl. So there you go. The lengths I went to get that car on the album.
And the guy knows. He knows it was for. He must be made up. He's a guy who loves his Honda so much. He goes on forums for that particular.
Well, I know
now it's on the sleeve of a record.
Well, I know. I think maybe if he doesn't appreciate it now, he will do it. Give it another 10 years.
Yeah,
he'll be well happy.